Have you guys ever seen someone speedrun their revenge like a YouTube challenge? So, the movie starts with this massive dude just named Driver, pacing back and forth in his cell as it is the day of his release. He takes a picture of his brother off the wall before the guards come and get him from his cell. The warden tries talking some sense into Driver, knowing how intense this dude is, but Driver is just focused on getting out of prison as soon as possible because he plans to kill the men responsible for his brother's death. The guards release Driver out into the desert, but he wastes no time and hits the 10-toed turbos for what seems like miles, until he comes to a junkyard. He finds his car ready for him where inside he has had files prepared on his targets and a loaded gun. With nothing but revenge on his mind, Driver sets off and this is day one guys. His first target works in the city and he pulls up just outside. Driver barges across the road like F traffic, and storms into the building. With no words, nothing, he finds the guys and kills him with one headshot. We then meet Cop, yeah that's his name, look up the cast if you don't believe me. He is basically a low life, as we see him buy some bad substance and shorten his life subscription in his car. He gets called to the scene of the murder where he is partnered with a female detective named Cicero and they begin working on the case. Driver then gives this goon named Roy a visit, who reveals that he was the one who set up Driver with his car and contacts. Driver has come to collect the rest of the names on his speedrun challenge, but Roy starts acting up after seeing Driver's cash and decides to raise the price for the contacts. Driver ain't playing, so Roy calls over his big bodyguard named Kenny. Big dude faces Driver but spots the tattoos on his arm, then his cheeks start quivering and he runs out of the store. Base know this circumstances, Roy graciously offers Driver a refund, plus the names. Cop and Cicero are going over the video from the office, and realize that the victim actually recognized his attacker before he was sent to see Jesus. News about Driver begins spreading quickly, making some people nervous. An anonymous person contacts a well-known assassin named Killer, yep that's his name too. He is given Driver's picture as his next target and gathers his weapons and sets out to hunt. Dude has a whole backstory and stuff, but this movie is about Driver so to hell with that. On day 2, he gets to the location and see the man he is supposed to be protecting. This old creep has a girl help him with groceries back to his apartment, then offer the chick drinks which he has drugged. Meanwhile, Killer is scoping out the building when he spots Driver pull up to the scene so he readies his gun. He sees Driver get out and enter the building and goes to intercept him. Driver makes it to the room just as the old man is videotaping the poor girl, shoots off his hand as he grabs a knife before shooting him in the head, all without uttering a damned word. As he leaves, Killer corners him in the hallway but a little girl steps out between them. Driver is like F this kid and starts unloading on Killer. He reloads the revolver like a damn pistol, then forces Killer to hide behind cover but disappears soon after. Killer is not sure where this dude went so he cautiously goes searching for him, but Driver has already made it to the car and makes his escape. Back with Cop and Cicero, they have gotten files on Driver which is good, so now we can know what this guy has done. Turns out Driver has been in prison for 10 years, never joined any gangs and ran anyone's fate who tried to attack him for it. Before that, Driver was a getaway driver for a team of robbers which included his brother, and he was a pretty damn good one at that. After the heist, Driver, his brother and his team were raided by another gang, which was recorded by the men. After shooting the other guys, they demanded the money from Driver and his brother while holding them at gunpoint. To save his brother, Driver gave up the cash, but his brother was still brutally killed in front of him. After that Driver realized that he was being filmed by the old man, and swore revenge before someone shot him in the head at point blank range and left him for dead, but even death was like nah I'm not messing with this dude and sent him back to the land of the living. After watching, the two detectives realize that Driver is on a revenge speed run. We then see Cop going over to his baby mama's house and she's all mad that their kid is late for his baseball game, even threatening to take full custody, just give him the kid lady goddamn. Turns out all the kid does is warm the bench so she was fussing for nothing. Cop gets a call from Cicero telling him about the shooting, much to the disappointment of the kid, but seeing this, he pretends to tell off Cicero after she has hung up, saying that he is going to his son's game. Well at least he made the kid smile, plus the dude is already dead. He ain't going nowhere. After the game he goes to the crime scene, where the cops realize that the old dude was a full-on creep with kids and learn about the shootout in the hall and about Killer. Meanwhile, Killer is telling his girlfriend about the shootout, saying how Driver has no sophistication about him. Dude, who needs sophistication when you got a damn .357 Magnum? He admits though that Driver is fearless and fast, even faster than him. Maybe it was looking down into the barrel of a Magnum or what, but he asks his girlfriend to marry him right there and then. It is the third day of the speedrun challenge and with 2 dead bodies so far, things are looking swell. Cop is back at his office. He spills coffee on his shirt and folds it up, causing Cicero to see his needle marks, but she pretends to ask him about his tattoo. Turns out, this dude married his snitch and gave her a kid, so my apologies lady, this dude is clearly an idiot. Driver gets to the location of another of his targets and sees the father leaving with his son. Turns out, the lady is not his target but a chick that he used to smash. She was pregnant with his kid, but sent his kid back to Jesus, hit her whole phase and got married. At least before he leaves, she tells him to make sure he kills them all. Meanwhile, Killer and his girl get married and have a pretty normal reception, firing pistols at glass bottles. Killer wants them to start a family right away. Told you. Driver really scared the crap out of this dude. Cop goes over to his informant, his baby mama, his ex-wife, begging her to take him back. She is trying to get her associate degree and better her life, but he begs her for just one night and she agrees. Driver is driving to Nevada looking for his next target and sees the man who works as a bouncer at a club, the same man who killed his brother. Driver leaves his gun behind and heads inside the club looking for dude, who he sees heading to the bathroom. Driver sees a bartender using an ice pick and steals it before cornering the man in the bathroom. Pause. The guy has been expecting Driver, and tells the old bathroom attendant to leave and let no one come in. When I was a kid I thought the bathroom attendant helped wipe your butt when you were done doing your business. Anyway, back to the movie. Big dude pulls a massive knife and begins brawling it out, but Driver ain't playing around and pokes this dude up. When he falls, he begs Driver to tell his son that he was sorry and hands him a phone to make the call. You ain't dead yet bro, you could make this call right now. Driver ends up making the call to a confused kid, but he ain't gonna be confused for much longer. Killer, who had decided to get married and start a family, decides to go back on his hunt for Driver. His girl gets mad at him and tells him to choose, even though she married dude knowing he was a egotistical gun-loving women. That night Cop is with his son when he hears a tumble and goes to check, only to see his girl high as a kite from stuff she got from him. Feeling guilty, he decides to throw out the stuff and plans to change his life around. It is day 4. Cop gives Cicero a call and she reveals that both dead men were police informants and that there may be a connection there. Driver is heading to his next target, when he hears on the news that his last victim actually survived and dude says nope, and makes a U-turn and heads back. Meanwhile, Cop has gotten the news and turns up at the hospital knowing that Driver will come. Killer also gets the news about the hospital, so shit's about to get really messy. Driver gets to the hospital and walks straight into the surgery room, and gives this guy open heart surgery with Dr. Magnum before escaping. Cop, who was supposed to be keeping watch, hears the gunshots and goes looking for Driver and tracks him down to the lower levels. He shoots at Driver, who returns fire. The gunfire has damaged the lights, and Cop with his old ass can't see properly and steps out looking up into Driver's gun. He thinks his time has come, but Driver sees his cop badge and dips, leaving him to clean up the crap in his pants. Driver is making his getaway when he hears the bouncer's phone ring. It is the bouncer's son, who tells Driver that he will find him and kill him, so Driver tells him to do what he needs to do. He spots Killer on his tail in his little Ferrari 360 and punches his 1970 Chevelle down the freeway. Driver pulls off a cool maneuver to come face to face with Killer, but foolishly chooses to shoot the tires, so Killer shoots him in the neck. Driver manages to make his escape and head back to his old childhood home, and holds his goddamn mom at gunpoint asking for his stepfather, who she reveals has died. After stitching him up, Driver explains that he wanted to kill his stepfather, because he thought that he set up the gang after not getting a cut off the money. His mother doubts that his stepfather would have his brother killed, so Driver takes his brother's ashes before leaving. Day 5, Driver is heading to his last target, who is now a traveling evangelist. Driver gets to his temporary church under a tent to see his target preaching his heart out. He spots Driver in the congregation and the spirit leaves him, wanting no part in what is to come. After the sermon, preacher is putting on his suit like he's gonna need that where he's going. His wife and kid come into the room to check on him, and this seems to get on Driver's mind a bit. The two go for a walk out into the field and preacher begins to remember that day, revealing that he didn't want them to kill Driver's brother. Preacher tries to talk his way out, even asking Driver for forgiveness, but Driver can't do that. Preacher gets down on his knees and begins singing, accepting his fate. This bothers Driver, who somehow spares Preacher, telling him to go back to his family. Driver goes to sit alone inside the church, looking at pictures of his brother and really thinking about giving up on his quest, after only sparing the last guy on his list. As he sits there, Killer turns up resting his gun to his head, prepared to kill him. Killer wants him to take up his gun and fight, but Driver refuses to fight back. Killer picks up his .357 and rests it against his head, then reveals that there is one more man he forgot about. Cop turns up at the scene and holds Killer at gunpoint, telling him to stand down. Suddenly Cop shoots Driver in the head, revealing that he was the one who shot Driver that day, and also the one who employed Killer. Turns out his girl was Driver's brother's girl at first, And she became cop's informant, told him about the bank job, then he organized the raid on the brother's house. Outside he offers Killer his payment of just $1, but Killer refuses, saying he didn't earn it, before jumping in his car and telling his wife that he is coming home. Cop calls his girl, telling her that things will be okay now, but driver turns up and shoots him. Told you death wants nothing to do with dude, just kidding, he had a metal plate in his head from when he was first shot. Driver finishes him off with a satisfying shot, finally killing all the guys in just 5 days. Let's see a YouTuber beat that. Cicero, who had found out about Cop, tracks him down and finds his dead body but refuses to say anything to her captain about the case. Driver finally gets his vengeance, spreads his brother's ashes out across the sea, before he and Chevelle head off into the sunset. Remember to turn on notifications, so you can watch more movie recaps like this. Thanks for watching.